Today, let's teach you how to work towards your very first tuck planche or strengthen the one you have. Now, this works exactly the same for the floor version and for the P-bar version. The position's exactly the same. We just have different hand positions in terms of what the wrist is doing. When I'm in this position on the P-bars, I'm in a neutral position like so, and it's much easier to take the shoulders forwards compared to having the hands in this position and then closing down the wrist angle like so. However, we can make it much nicer by externally rotating the hands if we're on the floor like so. And it does come down to personal preference whether you're going to use the P-bars or the floor, but I'd highly recommend you have a play with a bit of both. That way you're going to have more options when you start to do other skills. So if I'm going to do things like stand 2 planche, it's slightly easier when I raise the hands up, and I can progress to higher P-bars and other calisthenic skills. Now, if we keep looking at the hand position for a moment, there's going to be a difference in terms of the width. Most people are going to need to go a little bit wider than their shoulder position, just because that creates a bit more space and allows the body to get into a stronger position, especially around the shoulder blades, around the scapula. So externally rotating the hands, whether you're on the floor like so, slightly wider than the shoulder. Exactly the same on those P-bars. I'm going to turn them out slightly like so. And again, slightly wider than the shoulder position. Having that slightly wider position also helps us to push the elbows in towards the midline, meaning that they're going to stay straighter. What we don't want to do is be in this position and our elbows start to buckle, because when we're newer to this style of training, we tend to want to go into a bent arm position and then collapse through the shoulder blades as well, so sink down to this weaker, more bent arm position. Next, let's look at those shoulder blades, that scapular position. This is very, very important. This is where the strength and the main controllers for the planche come from. So it's very important that we have that strong foundation, that base with the hands, and then we push up to what we call protraction. Now, protraction is the point at which our shoulder blades are pushed in and disappear into our rib cage. The opposite movement would be retraction, where I'm like this and my shoulder blades are now sticking out, they're now winging out to the side. We want to go up into that protracted position and push as hard as we can into the floor. That's very, very important. I'd highly recommend that you just spend some time working on mobility there. So going between that protraction, pushing up as high as you can with those straight arms, going down to retraction, keeping the arms straight, and then back up to protraction again, just so you can get familiar with that position. It should feel very, very strong. Someone could stand on your back in that position. And we want to just get used to holding it for time. So I could hold here for 10 seconds in this position. I can do exactly the same in the top of the push-up, really pushing out through the shoulder blades, not through the hips. So making sure you're there. And if you can, you could even go a little bit further forwards, which is actually called the planche lean, which is a great exercise to condition that protracted position with the arms being straight, with that full scapular protraction, and with the shoulders slightly forwards of the hands. The further you go forwards, the harder it is. So just make sure if you are going to go forwards, you film yourself from the side and make sure that you're in that really good scapular position and you're not taking the hips up too high. Then we need to look at the tuck itself. Now, everyone's going to be slightly different in terms of what body position they can comfortably get in. I've got old man hips and it's actually really hard for me to sit in a tight tuck position. So my tuck position isn't going to look as tight as some other people's that can comfortably get in the position. We don't want to be using loads of energy just to hold the position. We want to be a comfortable tuck position, but the tightest you can do. So knees are somewhere close to the chest. I'm going to put the arms against the knees. So in this position, so my biceps are actually touching my arms there. I'm going to externally rotate. The hands, I'm going to take them a little bit wider than the shoulders, and then I'm just going to come forwards into that protracted round position, turn the toes over. There's my tuck planche. Now this is toe assist, so I'm getting a little bit of help from the feet pushing into the floor, but I would just hold there for time. See if you can hold there for 10, 20 seconds in that position. If you can't, I would make that your main focus. Make sure you've got that hand position, make sure you've got that rounded upper back scapular position and you're in that tight tuck. Hips roughly in line with the shoulders. We just don't want them too high, so we don't want to be this position. We also don't want them down here somewhere. If you start off in this position and you're trying to get into a tuck planche, you have to use so much energy to push up into your planche that once you get there, you're going to find it really hard to hold there for time. So the first goal is just to get 8 to 10 seconds in that tight tuck with the easiest possible entry to get into it. Now, once that becomes comfortable and you can hold there for time, then we can start to make it slightly harder. Lift one leg up, exactly the same. Now, I'm using a little bit of friction here. I'm pushing my knees out to my arms, my arms into my knees. And then when that one starts to feel easy, we can do exactly the same thing. So both feet, 1 foot. Now see if you can lift the other foot up, hold there for time, maintaining that protraction. Video yourself on the side and check your position. Now that could take a few weeks, if not months, to get into that position and be able to hold it there for time with no feet. But it is all about consistency and good quality repetition. Now, if we do need a bit more help to get into the position, I'd highly recommend you do what I just took you through with that toe assist variations, but also to have to play with the band variations. Now, we need to be careful with the band that it's not doing all the work for us. So if I put the band on my hips there and then go into this position like that, you can see I'm collapsed. The band is doing all the work and my upper back isn't in the protracted position. So I'd highly recommend that you actually go this way round. We want the band coming backwards a little bit and our hands to be more directly underneath the attachment point, meaning that the main focus is still on the protraction, the rounding of the upper back. Look, I'm entering it exactly the same as we did without the band. Lift 1 foot, lift the other. So the band is just helping me a little bit. Now, obviously, the band thickness and the height of the band makes a big difference. This is like a medium band, this is a skinny band. So I would be doing 2 or 3 sets of this, but your main work is being with the toe assist variations that I showed you earlier. Now, once the tuck planche becomes easy and you can hold it for time in that position, you can start to open it out. Now, when we start to open it out, it gets much harder because the lever arm and the hips are going backwards. So that takes weeks, months, if not years to really open out into more of an advanced tuck position. So don't rush those positions. Make sure you're only moving the knees a little bit away from the chest and slowly increasing the time there. But make sure that that tuck planche foundation is super strong before you start playing with that and before you start playing with other things like entering the planche from a handstand or from an L-sit. This has been a super quick tutorial, but it is very basic actually. The training is just 1 or 2 exercises, lots of quality reps and time in the position, and you'll get your tuck planche. If you do have any questions, stick them down in the comments below. If you're after help with your training, check out my app and my website, and I'll speak to you guys in the next one.